All right, so lesson 4-9A in our Oklahoma Essentials workbook, ordering decimals on number lines. So we kind of did this on lesson 3-13 when we were comparing decimals. However, in this lesson, they're not going to provide us with a lot of fully formed number lines. We have to actually create our own number lines for this lesson. So some quick reviews about ordering decimals on number lines. When you compare decimals, you've got to make sure that all the decimals are to the same place. So what I mean by that, if I have three decimals, 0.19, 0.3, and 0.45, not all of them are to the same place. One is to tenths, the other two are to hundredths. So I need to put all of these decimals to the hundredths place. So 0.3 would actually become 0.30 because all I do is put a 0 on the end of that. So instead of 3 tenths, it would be 30 hundredths. And 0.45 and 0.19, I don't even touch those. Those stay the same. Now I know that 0.30 is less than 0.45 because 30 is less than 45, but 0.3 is actually greater than 0.19, or 30 is greater than 19. So now I would be able to order those from least to greatest. So I would actually have 0.19 is my least, 0.30 is my middle number, 0.45 is my greatest number, my greatest decimal. Also, for number 2, make sure that you label your number line with benchmark decimals. Now, we haven't really talked about benchmark decimals too much. However, it's no different than benchmark fractions. The most common benchmark decimals that you could use are 0.5 or half, 0.50 half, or and also 1 whole. And they'll always, most of the time, if there's a 1 there, I just like to put 1 whole or 1.0, especially if I'm dealing with decimals, just to know that is like a dollar. That is my total right there. Sometimes your number line will actually go up to 2 wholes, so I have to label it 1 whole and then label it to 2 whole, okay? Or up to 5 or 10 or 100 or whatever. I myself, when I am doing number lines with decimals, I prefer to break them into 4 sections. So I'll make a tally mark for 0.25, half, 0.5, 0.75, which is 3/4, and then finally my 1 whole mark. I like to do that. I'll kind of show you how I do that here when we look at the work page. And it's just easier that way to do it, where you make your benchmark decimals. Okay, so let's look at this page. So there's only 4 questions for this lesson. However, we're going to go through it so that we're only going to do number 2 for right now, and you're going to do the rest of these. Number 1, pretty simple. They're all to the same place. You'll have to mark smallest to largest and put it on a number line. So we can do that in a little bit. Number 2 is a little bit more challenging. That's why I want to kind of do it right now. 0.3. If we're able to get through 2, okay, slow down. If I'm able to get to 2 and do 2, then I should be able to do 1, 3, and then finally with number 4, it's a lot to take in, but as long as you understand the place where each decimal is and get them all to the same place, you'll be absolutely fine. Okay, so we're going to look at number 2 here. And before I even begin, I'm going to look at all my decimals. So I have 0.6, 0.90, 0.09, and 0.96. Now, not all of my decimals are to the same place. 0.6 is not to the same place as everybody else. Everybody else is to the hundredths place. So I have to change him and convert him to hundredths. Well, I know that 0.6 is saying 6 out of 10 because it's to the tenths place. If I multiply both the 6 and the 10, I get 60 out of 100. So my new decimal would actually be 0.60. Okay. Now, another quick little thing that I like to do is I like to order mine vertically so that I can see everything in its place. 9, 0. So that way when I look across, I will be able to tell what's larger, what's smaller this way. Okay, now when I look at decimals and I'm trying to order them and compare them and stuff, I will actually look at the ones place, okay, which is like a whole dollar or so, my ones place, and then I'll move over. Well, I can look here. This says 6909. Which one's the smallest of those? The 0, right? So he would actually be my smallest decimal, 0.09. So I can mark him out. Now I have 0.6, 0.9, 0.9. Well, next would come 0.6. And I'm going to write it exactly like they have it here in my original problem. If you wrote it the other way, that's absolutely fine. But I like to keep it with the original problem. But it's not wrong if you write 0.60. Okay? Now I mark that out. Now I have 0.9, 0.9. Well, that doesn't help me because they're the exact same. Now I have to go to my hundredths place. 0.90, 0.96. Well, 90 is less than 96. So 0.90. And then my largest decimal would be 0.96. So imagine it looks like this. This 0.09 is actually 9 cents. So somebody gave you 9 pennies. Okay? This 0.6 is if somebody gave you 6 dimes or 60 pennies. Okay? 0.90, this is like somebody giving you 9 dimes or 90 pennies. And then 0.96, that's like somebody giving you 96 pennies. Okay? Out of all of this, I would like to have the 96 pennies because it is my largest. The 9 pennies is my smallest. Okay? So what I have to do on my number line now that I've got my smallest to largest decimals, I want to organize it, okay, and put my benchmark decimals there. So like I said, I like to break it apart into quarters, okay, or 4 pieces. So I know that this goes from 0 to 1 whole. So this is 1.0, okay? Now half of that would be 0.5. Okay, I know that that's half. Well, in between 0 and half, I know that that's a quarter, or 0.25. Okay? And then I know in between half and 1 whole, that's 3 quarters. So it's 0.75. Okay? So I know that this is 1 quarter, or literally 1 quarter is 25 cents. 2 quarters is 50 cents. 3 quarters is 75 cents. And then if I had 4 quarters, that's $1. So now that I have these, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change my pen color to green, okay? And so what I'm going to show you now is I have to order these. Now, 9 cents, that's less than 0.25, okay? 9 cents is going to be back down here somewhere. It doesn't really matter as long as there's nothing else in this section, and it could be the only thing. So I'm going to put this here, 0.09. Again, there's nothing else in this section, so I could put it wherever I want to in between this section right here. Okay, that's about roughly where it would be. Okay, so I've got that one. Now I have 0.6. Well, on my number line here, this is 0.5 or 50. And I found out this is 0.6 or 60. So this one's actually going to be a little bit higher. Now, I have 0.9, which is going to be closer up to here. So as long as it's in this section right here, we'll count it as being good. Okay? It doesn't have to be exact, but as long as we have it in that section. So 0.6, that's great. Right there. I'm done with it. Now I have 0.90 and 0.96. So I have to figure out where that's going to go. Well, I know that 0.96 is going to be larger, so I'm going to put that one right here, 0.96. And again, within this section right here, I can put 0.90 anywhere I want to. Okay, so again, I could label it right here, label it right here, label it right here, and label it right here. As long as you go by step, first figure out what is my smallest to my largest. If they're not in the same value, you need to convert them to all be hundredths. Okay, so convert them to be hundredths, get your smallest to your largest decimals, and then break it apart into your quarter pieces. Okay, I promise you this is going to help you out tremendously. So if you know that this is half, find about where half is in between 0 and half and mark it. Again, same thing, between 1 and half, mark that with 0.75 and then start labeling it as you go. Going along with this lesson, comparing decimals from like 3-13, you have to know how to compare them. I used this, which helps me out. So I can look at my ones place and then move over and look and see which one is my lowest. Mark it off. Then move to the next one. Which one's my lowest? Mark it off. Then I had to compare this and this. Well, this has a 0 in the hundredths place. This has a 6 in the hundredths place. So I know that this one's smaller than this one. Okay? So go through those steps one by one, and you should be able to get it. If not, you can always ask your teacher for help. Maybe look back at lesson 3-13 on the video, and it should be able to help you. All right? Okay. Good luck, and I hope you do well.